Singular salute. I'm Lord Maitreya, the hip hop futurist. You're now tuned into the Super Longevity Institute podcast. This evening, I have a great guest. He's a graduate of Nyu Film School and a producer of more than 350 commercials, music videos, and short films. He produced Rhyme and Reason, a documentary on hip hop culture. He also worked on Will Smith's Summertime, A Tribe Called Quest, Can I Kick It? Check the Rhyme by Tribe Called Quest, Brand Nubians, Punks Jump Up to Get Beat Down, Redmans, Time for Some Action, EPMD's The Crossover, and YG's Blame It on the Streets. He has produced over 50 independent films, including I'm gonna have to freestyle this, including the Alphabet. What was it? The Alphabet. Oh man,
The Alphabet Killer.
The Alphabet Killer, Immortality or Bust, King of Knives. Ladies and gentlemen, transhumanist hip hop futurist worldwide, Daniel Sollinger. It's good to have you on the show, even though I kind of tore that up. I had to freestyle it towards the end, but your resume is extensive. I'm so happy to have you, man. I mean, you've been.
I'm so happy to be here, Maitreya. I'm a huge fan. I love what you're doing, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, man. How did you even get started in the film world? Were you interested in film production, movie production, or videos specifically?
Well, that's a good question. So I'm gonna go way back and to when I was a child. We weren't allowed to watch television very much. My parents didn't like television, movies, any of that. They thought books were the way to go. And when I got into high school, I got into a lot of trouble, and I got kicked out of one high school, and I got sent to another high school, and then I got kicked out of that high school, and they sent me to night school, which was sort of like the end of the line. And at night school, I met this kid who had gotten kicked out of this place called the Fine Arts Center, where he was studying film. And it was just like a smack in the face. I was like, you can study film? Like, I had no idea. Like, you can actually study, like, making movies and stuff? And he was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. So I applied. I don't know how I got in, but I got in. And since then, like, I was able to direct all that energy I was using, like, for things that weren't necessarily so good. For me, it was drugs and alcohol, and put it into making movies, and
Right.
it just I've been enchanted ever since, basically. And I went to New York City. I got into NYU Film School, and and now I'm here. 30 years later.
NYU Film School is very famous for having really great movie producers, film producers. A lot of people came through those doors. A lot of people came from NYU Film School. It's a great film school. I've heard of it. How did you? What was your first hip hop music video? That's what I want to know.
So I don't even remember the name of my first one. And so what I would do at NYU, when I was going to NYU, I would work a semester and then go to school for a semester. So I was starting to produce music videos while I was at school. And I forget the guy's name. It was an interesting, gosh, I don't even remember. But I guess the first famous music video I did was Can I Kick It, which was very early in my career. I remember, going, and I think it was, what's that other bridge next to the Brooklyn Bridge? The Williamsburg Bridge. We were underneath we were underneath the Williamsburg Bridge shooting Can I Kick It, Brand Nubians, and they were a whole clique. It was Tribe, De La Soul, and Brand Nubian. They were all hanging out, and on our lunch break, I got to play full court basketball with Tribe Called Quest, Brand Nubians, and De La Soul.
That's crazy.
And it was, I was a hip hop head. I was very much into hip hop. That was just like heaven. I was just like in absolute complete heaven.
You can't go wrong with any of those groups. And
Yeah,
Can I
right.
Kick It was one. We ran that tape into the ground. Can I Kick It?
That was
We ran that tape
yes,
over. We
yeah,
watched that video over and over and over. You know, today you get a hit is done with in the summer. Summer, you know, after the summer, it has a very short lifespan. That's
right.
because not because of the music itself, but just because of the nature of how music is put out there today versus in the past. You
Well, you
know,
know what I also say about that time is it was a really special time in hip hop where it was just really getting it's really was just getting hitting its stride, and so the music sounded different the next summer. You know,
yeah,
like it was evolving so quickly that
yes,
the stuff that you'd listened to last summer they were calling old school. You
yeah,
know, and the
yeah.
stuff that was listening to this summer was had a completely different flavor to it. You know.
Yeah, yeah. There was a lot of diversity. I love that era. Then you did Check the Rhyme. I mean, come on, man. We
Yeah.
love Summertime. We love that song, Summertime. When Will Smith. That's when
Oh yeah.
I paid attention when you did the Will Smith videos and that song came out. I started to pay attention to Will Smith. I said, "Oh, wait a minute now." I said, "Oh, wait a minute." I said, okay, all right, all right. He's coming with something because you know when you from the underground, you was like, nah. You know. Q-Tip said if you call him, he was dissing MC Hammer for being pop. No, back then we
Right.
didn't like nothing being popular. We was against everything that
Right.
was pop. So when Will Smith did Summertime, we was like, all right, that's an exception.
Right.
We like that one. We
It's
was like, that's
true,
hot.
right?
That we was like,
And
that's hot.
you can still hear that song today.
Hmm.
Somebody'd still be bumping that song this summer, I guarantee it.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna be playing that. I love Will Smith. And so, and then you did Rhyme and Reason. I was like, my gosh, Rhyme and Reason. I remember when that came out. I
Yeah.
remember when that came out. Rhyme
Well,
and
what was
Reason.
happening is I was looking at all these hip hop videos, and basically all the artists were like, "Okay, here's our concept for the video. Come to our neighborhood, shoot us in front of our bodega, shoot us in front of like our building, like all of them wanted to really desperately show like where they like where they really were, and it
Yeah,
just struck me as like what they really need is a documentary, and there were no hip hop documentaries in the time at the time. And
yeah,
I had
sure.
a friend of mine, Peter Spire, had done this documentary on this photographer, and I'm forgetting her name, but she was a famous photographer who took pictures of her kids
Mm.
in the woods with basically naked, and there was a lot of issues that the politicians had with her and stuff, and he did this Sally Mann. He did a documentary on Sally Mann, and he got nominated for an Academy Award. And then
Mm.
an investor stepped forward and said, basically, Peter, I'll put money into whatever you want to do. And he said, well, I want to do a documentary on hip hop. And when he came and told me that, I was like, yes, that's what I felt like everybody that we'd been working with had wanted to do, was just basically show where they were at, what they were
Mm.
doing, what their life was like.
Right.
So it was just a natural fit. Yeah, it was quite a journey, and
Right.
I think it still holds up today. I think
Oh,
you can watch
definitely,
Rhyme and Reason today.
definitely.
Still
And
a really interesting, relevant movie.
how who? I mean, how did you come about wanting to even do a documentary around that time about hip hop culture? Like, how did
Well, the
like
thing
how did
about
you?
it is too is it was a weird time. So I was doing all these music videos, but the music video were weird. First of all, there was a lot of money coming in. So all of a sudden, because of the UMTV raps, the budgets kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger,
Yeah.
which was
Uh-huh.
great. But there was this other thing that had sort of come in where it was the East Coast West Coast
Yeah.
battle, thing,
Yeah.
and it was getting kind of dangerous. There was like
Mm.
like you'd have to like screen people for weapons, at the
Yeah.
shoots, and like people
Stupidity.
literally got killed from these video shoots.
Yeah.
And I had kind of gotten to a place where it's like, you know what, I want to make this documentary rather than be on music video shoots, because it was the whole vibe was different.
Smart.
It wasn't like dealing with all these people and
Yeah.
posse and like all this
Who wants to deal with that
tension and
nonsense? Yeah.
stuff, and it was just hanging out with the artists and talking about their art. Like we got
Sure.
to one of my favorite memories was, and it's not in the movie, but being in the sound booth with Tretch as he
Yeah, he's one
spit
of the
an
best.
entire song. What's that?
He's one of the best, by the way.
Yeah. Naughty by nature,
What?
and sitting with him like as he recorded an entire song. I was
That's right.
in the room with him, in the little recording booth
Wow.
with him while he was doing it. And, and that was to me like so much better than being on a music video and
Yeah.
like having all these other issues that can come up when you're making a music video.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I want to any other young boys and girls that's out here. I sound like Mr. Rogers right now, but it's all good. You're scaring the money away when y'all do this nonsense. I mean, it doesn't.
Mm.
It's not good for business. I mean, you want to prove that you're a gangster. Go where the gangsters go. Don't bring your that type of nonsense to legal business. It doesn't work.
Mm.
It's bad for hip hop.
Mm.
Stop it. And I'm glad Mr. Sullinger mentioned that because I want to highlight that point. That's in today's world when the pot is a little bit bigger and people seeing bigger money than they ever did before. You got to get in control of ourselves and keep our environments that we're doing business in safe. Okay, that's my public announcement. All right, yeah. But yeah. I think that documentary was, you had Nas in there. That's one of my
Nah,
favorite
yeah.
artists. You got
And
to
this is
catch
when he
his
was like
early.
21, like he was just a
Yeah,
kid.
yeah. I was like, dang man, he didn't even get on camera that much back then. He was mad shy. He didn't like to be on camera. Nas didn't like to
No,
be
I
on
mean,
camera that much.
and we tried to get artists that were like sort of up and coming and put them into that film. Like we tried to get the big artists as well, and I think
Right.
we did that. But we tried to get some of the younger artists, some of whom you still know today, some of whom like sort of faded with time. But if you look closely enough, there's a shot of Jay-Z because at the time, this is like in the mid '90s, like
Crazy.
Jay-Z hadn't had his shot yet, and
Right.
nobody knew who he was, and we have like we did a short shoot with that Jay-Z was in, and we
Wow.
need to see a clip of him in the movie.
It's crazy because you might need a documentary about yourself with all the videos. With all the hip hop videos you do, you might have to have a documentary yourself. I don't
You
know.
know
That's
what?
so strange.
I should just at least just tell all the stories so that
Yeah.
they're remembered somehow.
For the next generation of people that's coming underneath you that want to do the same things you're doing, and want to affect the culture and be a part of the culture, and put out some dope videos, man. Those videos are key. Like those are not just regular videos. Those were classic videos. I mean, EPMD, the crossover. I say when I
Right.
say that when I see EPMD the crossover, I say, yo, bro. I say, oh snap. I watched that video over and over again, and that's when Ralph McDaniels, he's gonna come on the show, by the way.
Oh
Shout
yeah,
outs to
he's
Ralph
great.
McDaniels. That's who we watched early in the early days at, in my time we watched that at Ralph McDaniels on
You know what?
at
I was
3:30.
just talking about Ralph McDaniels the other day because I was talking to a guy from the Bahamas, and he's shooting music videos for local Bahamian rappers. And I was
Wow.
telling him that he should do what Ralph McDaniels did, which was Ralph McDaniels had this, public access TV show where he would just go. I would see him everywhere. He would go to all the video shoots. He would go wherever the rappers were, and he would just sit
Yeah.
there and interview them. This was before YouTube, before social media, and like I feel like that was so smart. And then he started directing videos for everybody, and he was just
Wow.
so a part of it that he was, he got work left and right because he was just always there.
He was
Even when we
playing
made
your
Common
videos.
Reason, he was right there at the same places we were often, shooting his own stuff.
Wow. I mean, Ralph is an icon, man, and
Yeah,
he was
for
playing
sure.
all your video. All your videos was played on Ralph McDaniels on the video music box.
Right.
It was played
Yeah.
there. That's where I seen it first. And but what was the transition like? Were you doing movies back then? Like when?
No, I didn't start doing movies. So Rhyme and Reason was my first feature film.
Hmm.
It's a documentary, and then basically after Rhyme and Reason came out, I started focusing on doing narrative feature films. And as you mentioned, I've done like 50 of them since. So and part of the reason is because like I just described like how I had gotten a little frustrated with the way hip hop videos were getting made, but just a bigger issue for me was that, you know, you for a music video, you do all the work, you set it up, and then you shoot for like 2 or 3 days and it's over. And you know, like with a movie, you're shooting for a month, 2 months. You know, it's a much bigger canvas to work on. You know, and that just as I got more mature, that just had a lot more interest to me.
Yeah, movies are dope. I was just talking to Theodore about you know, he did the soundtrack for Wild Style. I'm trying to, you know, I'm trying
Wow,
to get Charlie Ahern on the show. I've spoken to
wow,
him. I
yeah.
mean, yeah, Wild Style.
Actually, when we, you know, like Wild Style was sort of our inspiration when we made Rhyme and Reason, because that was the
Wow.
only documentary that existed in the culture. And Charlie at the time, like you had to like physically go to his apartment
Wow.
to buy
That's
a copy of
crazy.
the movie. Like that was the only way you could get it.
Can
Like
you
back when we first started making Rhyme and Reason.
Oh, that's crazy to go and get that. Can you imagine getting
Yeah.
a movie itself from Charlie Ahern? I love that
Right.
time
Well,
period.
he had a bucket and he would put it in the bucket and like drop it down off of the fire escape.
That's
And he,
crazy.
yeah.
Yo, I never heard that story before. That's crazy. Wow. I love that
Well, you
time
know what? I
period.
can't say that. You know what? That was the lore at the time. I think the director was talking about it. I didn't experience it, but I was told that that's
Wow.
how he got a copy of Wild Style.
That's crazy. Let me ask you another question. Um, have you ever heard of the Mud Club?
No, I haven't. What's that?
Okay. Yeah, this is a club that Basquiat used to go to back in the day. You
Oh,
know, it
okay.
was a really,
Yeah, I
really
remember
famous
that.
club.
It's down in the village, right?
Yeah, it was down in the village.
Yeah.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
want
No, I
to.
know. I didn't. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, just wanted to know if you heard of it. Another question. I know that sounds like just a question out of nowhere, but I'll come back to that.
Well, no, I didn't know if that was like a group of people called the Mud
Oh,
Club, but no, yeah. Now I remember. I remember. You know, I lived down on Bleecker Street for a good decade. You know,
I love that
you'll
area.
love this too because when I lived on Bleecker Street, I lived in between the Bowery and Lafayette,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and at the time, Russell Simmons lived over on West Fourth Street,
Hmm.
and Rush Management, which managed all the top rappers,
Yeah.
was at Bleecker and um, just off of the Bowery. I forget that what that cross street is, but it's a street that's only like 1 block long. It's kind of like an
Mm.
alley, and Rush Management's office was there. And you know, and then there were all these music video production companies over on like Broadway and Bleecker. There was Black and White, where Paris Barclay worked out of, and there was you know, like all these Kevin Bray, who had this company called Hex
Mm.
Films, was he was the one who did the Punks Jump Up to Get Beat Down. No, that was
Oh,
he was at this company called Hex down on Spring Street. So there was
wow.
just like all these people, and you just walk around the street and you just run into, you know, directors and managers and artists, like all because we were all just like all running around like the same very small part of the city, you know.
Mm. Very interesting. Question for you though. What is and I have to see this movie that you did. King of Knives, is it called? I want to know
Right,
what
King
that's
of
about.
Knives.
I'm interested in that movie. I'm gonna watch that. I want to see that.
Oh, I'm glad
I
to
haven't
hear
seen
that.
it
Yeah,
yet.
King of Knives just came out. It's on Amazon, iTunes, YouTube.
All
It's
right.
available on most streaming platforms. Not Netflix yet. It'll probably be on Netflix in about 6 months or something.
Mm.
But you actually came and visited our set when we were shooting
Right,
King of Knives. I
right.
don't know if you remember,
I do
but
remember.
right, that scene that we were shooting with the
Yeah, that
Maserati,
was
like you came
crazy.
and visited us,
Oh yeah, that was
and
dope.
it's about I love it because it's about a family, and the father, who's 50s and like 50s or 60s, is going through a midlife crisis, but his
Mm.
kids, who are in their mid 20s, are going through crises as well. So it's very
Right.
interesting to sort of see, like, you know,
Mm.
both you know, like the boomer and the millennials, you know, going through crises. You know, they're going through a quarter life crisis.
Interesting.
He's going through a midlife crisis,
It's a
and
parallel.
it's treated with a lot of depth and humor. So I'm very proud of that.
Mm.
Like, it's very has a lot of humor to it, and it's a lot of fun. But also, it's like it's about real feelings. You know.
Yeah, I actually like the concept. I'm gonna definitely check it out. Definitely check it
All
out
right.
tomorrow when
Cool.
I'm off. Um, you know, you also did what was it like working with Will Smith in Summertime?
It was a
Did he tell
dream.
jokes and shit?
Yeah.
Like did he get around
He,
on
you
set?
know, he was very laid back. You know, he has a very positive attitude. So there's not much that can happen, or that at least in that short time I got to work with him. So that video was probably like I think that was a huge shoot. I think we shot for like 4 or 5 days, which was like, for music videos, just an enormous amount of time. And we did it down in Philly, where he's from. He impressed me right off the bat because we had booked him at the Four Seasons or whatever, like the big expensive, most expensive hotel in Philadelphia. And word came back from the record company. I think the woman at the record label is a woman named Ann Carey, who's gone on to produce movies and is kind of a famous A&R person. And she was like, Will wants to stay with the crew, So I think we were in the Holiday Inn.
She's an Asian lady?
Yes.
I know her.
Yes.
I know. I've spoken to her before.
Yeah.
I know exactly who she is.
She was working at the label.
And Carly.
Ann Carly. That's it.
I know who she is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Ann Carly was on the video, was the video commissioner on the job, and she was there with us in Philadelphia. And she called us up and said, Will wants to stay at the Holiday Inn with the crew. Yeah. So we booked him on the same, we got him the nicest room on our floor, but he was on the same floor as me and the director and the DP. And he would hang out in the hallways, and shoot the crap with us, after hours, and like little like fans would be like trying to sneak down the hallway and like they would walk by us like snickering, like, oh my gosh, that's Will Smith, oh my gosh. And I'll never forget, one of my most favorite memories of all time is we got up the first day of shooting. We got up, we all got in the elevator. I'm sitting there talking to Will, and just I forget what we were talking about. And I could just sense that like something in the shift in something shifted in the conversation, right? And he's getting a little like antsy. And then the elevator doors open, and there is a wall of 300 people like right in front of us, all like calling his name, and it was like my first time like I ever got to experience like what a celebrity must feel like when they're in a situation like that. And he very calmly like stepped out and talked to everybody and kept it moving, but would like sign autographs and just kept it moving until we got to the van to go to the job. And I was like just completely stunned. I didn't know what to do, because it was just sort of like, oh my God, but just give me a sense of like what his life must be like,
Yeah, Will Smith, man, Summertime, man. That was played at all the cookouts. That song.
And he was, that was after the first season of Fresh Prince. So he had already gone from being, clever, fun rapper to like television star, like he had just really cemented television star,
First to do it. I think that your video, because we seen when that video came out, like the song, we was like, yo, the song is dope. But when you added the video for the visuals for the song, that took it to another level. I think that took it to another level. We was like, oh, when we had the visual representation of that song, we was like, oh wow, this was dope. But
well, you can't make a great video to a bad song. So like part of what makes that, I love that video too. I still watch that today. And what makes it so great is just the flow, the feeling of the song, and it is summertime when we're shooting, and it's like we used a lot of steady cam. It was just like you're floating around, and it's like nice and sunny, and just everything looks like so much fun. And he's got such a great energy, and the track is just so good,
What type of camera did you shoot that on, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, back in those days, we used to shoot on film. So music videos we usually shot, and this one we did, it was on 16 millimeter film. Like the budget started to get bigger after that, and we started to shoot on 35 millimeter, but we shot on 16 millimeter film, and then we would transfer it to videotape and color it, give it that pop and color that it had. That was always a big part of the music video process, was going and tweaking all the colors to make it look really new or different or special, Wow. And 16 millimeter film was an Airflex camera, and then I think how and then the director Jim Swaffield used to like to use this small 16 millimeter camera called a Bolex. And so like I don't know if you remember how like they have like the two frames where one's off from the other, in that video, and like we would set up the Airflex. Yeah, we'd set up the Airflex for one and the Bolex for another. Or we
Wow.
shot some of that footage is with the Bolex. Yeah.
Wow. Incredible. I mean, now all the films are made. It's digital cameras, not so much
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
How come though? I know nothing about
Well,
film.
I mean, it's for a great reason. I mean, film is expensive, film is fragile, and film has very little latitude. So you could go out. I mean, I can go out now and shoot with my iPhone and have, a much better image resolution and color wise than like those film cameras we were using in the day.
Wow.
And then it's also so much more flexible. Like I could color it and edit it right there on the phone and put it out on TikTok or YouTube. So
Wow.
it's time for that's technology. It changes. I
Right.
was happy to see film go. I was not one of those people who felt like film was the be all and end all of filmmaking. I was so happy when digital video came around and it got good enough. Actually, for me, the first time that I realized that film was just going to die completely was Spike Lee's movie Bamboozled. And when I saw Bamboozled, I'm like, film is dead. Film is over. No one's going to use it.
Wow.
Like there's still some people who shoot with film. I think Chris Nolan does. Quentin Tarantino, but everybody else shoots on digital, and eventually they're going to have to start shooting on digital too, because they're just not going to be. The thing about film too is that it's physical. So, there's been a few times over the years I've had a director who's been like, I want to make my movie on film. I'm like, no, you don't. And we have a big argument about it. And I'm finally like, okay, we'll do it. And we go and we do it. And then you shoot the film, you send it to the laboratory, and it breaks in the machine. And there's you lose some of your footage, or there's like all this scratches on it that happened when it was being transferred from this bath to that bath.
Right.
And
Right.
then you got to go and get visual effects technology to go and fix all the scratches. Sometimes you lose footage. It's just like, I don't know. I'm not a fan.
What? No.
I'm glad that you did. And it's also too like back when you shot film too, it was so expensive, and so it'd be like, okay, roll camera, cut. Like as soon as you got that little piece that you wanted, cut. Now it's just like, okay, turn the camera on. Okay, try it again, do it upside down, like play around with it, and you have just all this footage to work with because you can let the camera roll forever,
What was your first camera? That video camera you bought? Can you remember?
Well, I used school equipment, and then I entered a contest that AFI was having, and I won a prize. And the prize was a high 8mm camera. So I had a high 8mm video camera. I also bought a Bolex as well. So I had a Bolex, which I didn't use much, but I had it and shot some stuff with the Bolex. I also had, I'm sure I had a Super 8 camera as well and shot stuff on Super 8 film.
Wow, dope. Time for Some Action by Redman.
Redman, yeah.
Yeah, that was another video
so
I played over and over again.
We're just going down hip hop road. We're not even getting into transhumanism and all that, right?
I know. I'm trying to sneak. I'm trying to get it in, but it's so much history.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was very lucky. I was lucky to be there. Yeah. Time for Some Action. I mean, Redman had done like a verse on one of EPMD's tracks, but nobody even knew who Redman was when we did Time for Some Action.
Yeah. Wow, that video was crazy.
And that track is just so slam. I mean, that track is so good.
Timeless. That's timeless. I when I get off from this, when we done with this interview, I think I'm gonna put that on. I'm gonna put Time for Some Action.
Well, you're making me want to go back and watch the crossover and Time for Some Action.
Yo, because that was a good time for me. Like I remember that video. I was young. I remember that video. I was like, oh snap, he's coming like this. I said, wow. But man, how did you come about doing that video? Like, what was the process with that, and how was Redman in those early days? This is early Redman.
I was working with a very specific director named Jim Swafield, and he and it's funny too because he's like I think before he was a music video director, he worked in insurance, white guy, bald, you know, wore Izods, you know, which this is before Kanye. Like that was not cool.
Right.
But like he didn't pretend to be anything else, and he just loved the music, and he didn't try to pretend to be anything else than he was, you know, which was a former insurance salesman. But
Wow.
he liked the music, and he had a great vision. He made great videos, and the artist just loved him. And like
Wow.
he did Scenario for Tribe. Like he tried this one,
Scenario
he
was
kept working with them
crazy.
over and over again. You know, like all these artists, and he was, you know, like, and people like Ann Carey like loved him and just would keep asking him back for videos. So I ended up doing most of my big videos were with him. I did another EPMD video with another director, and I have some the Punks Jump Up to Get Beat Down was with David Perez, but you know, like he was sort of like my main director that I worked with at the time.
And Carly, I'm trying to get you on the show. I know I seen you click
Yeah.
on. I'm trying to get you on the show. You know why? You know I know your history. And Carly, I'm coming for you. No, I'm only kidding.
Well, I
Yeah.
always wonder when Q-Tip says record company people are shady if he means
Oh,
Ann Carly, because
yo, that would
they had a lot of contacts.
yo. Whoa, you just went in. Oh God.
No. Just because I just put the two together because she would be on all those videos,
Yeah,
but the reality is they had a bad contract. You know,
they
Tribe had a
did.
bad contract, and it had much more to do with the business affairs and the A&R people, not the video commissioner.
That's right. And I think that later on, all of these people will be taken care of because I hear a lot of discussion within the culture about the people who came before them getting their rightful due as far as financial,
Mm,
financially.
man, that'd be so great to
So
see.
yeah, that movement is I stand by that movement. I want to see the elders that paved the way for the culture
Like
get
Cold
their just
Crush,
due.
Cool Herc, you
Yeah,
know, like Grandmaster Flash, like all these people, like, you know, who it wouldn't exist without them, but never were there for that big money slosh of money that came in when it
yeah,
when it got really popular. I have a question for you, Maitreya.
sure.
So I've been noticing on this is on TikTok, but I've been noticing like so many white rappers
Hmm.
and female, male, you know,
Hmm.
and they're good at it,
Hmm.
but but the appropriation seems so overwhelming to me, you know. And I'm just curious, like, what your take on that is. Like, if you've noticed a change, or and like,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that?
Well, my opinions on this is pretty controversial. Um, and but you know, the hip hop is an identity for me, and it's just not I don't look at it as just for its entertainment value. So
Right,
if these people, the only thing I say with this is that just be authentic with the culture. I don't care what color, race you are. You know, this is a
right.
culture first, and it's beyond entertainment. That's what you have to know before wanting to join any you know culture that was
So
there before
it's
you.
beyond being able to do some good bars. It's about being
Yeah,
the
it's
whole picture of it, the whole.
yeah, it's an identity for me. You know, it's an
Right,
identity for me. So, you know, I feel like I am hip hop, and I don't feel like I'm alone in that. I feel like anybody who claims
right,
the culture can claim that also, of course.
right,
And so, and I think that you know, there's always been uh quote unquote other white people in the culture. You had Scene. Scene is one of the biggest graffiti artists, the biggest writers on the, you know, on the planet. Scene. He's in that movie Wild Style.
right.
Uh, so you know, I'm sorry, Star Wars. He's in that movie Star Wars, that documentary Star Wars. Scene. Um, and I think the brother name is Cap. It's plenty of people, man. You know, the hip
Right.
hop culture is bigger than any. It's bigger than any. You know, it's bigger than. Uh, it's a unifying factor. So if these people
Yeah,
come
but
in
I
with
think you're
those
right.
things,
I feel like you have to be. I think being part of the culture is important. You know, like when we did Rhyme and Reason, like we did a piece on breaking and
yeah,
on, you know, graffiti, because that was part of
Mm.
Like we didn't feel like we could make a movie about hip hop and not include like breaking
Yeah.
and and graffiti and like like the clothes, like that's all.
Yeah.
That's like there's just so many parts of it that and we even, an artist in it even says, I think it was the guy from the Alcoholics.
Mm.
No,
Yeah, I love that
Farside. The
group.
guy from Farside. No, I think it was. No, I think it's from the Alcoholics. Says basically how it's not just the music. It's like the way you do everything
Yeah.
is part of the. It's just the way like
It's
hand
true.
somebody something. Like that. That's all
Yeah.
you can do it hip hop style.
That's
Like
right.
it's not just the music. It's like this. It's everything you do.
That's
It's
true.
all of it.
No, I totally agree. And it's bringing in the United States, hip hop is one of the biggest unifying factors. It brought communities together that not necessarily. I know that you don't see that in the media because
Mm,
of what time period we're in. As far as the co-op, it's been co-op by certain interests that don't really care about the
mm-hmm.
culture. But anyway, you don't see that much. But it hip hop it brings all types of different people together when it's done properly. When people
Yeah.
are using it for that purpose and getting in the culture in that purpose. But I definitely would like to see a re-emerging of dope hip hop videos like you were doing in your time. You know what I'm saying? I want to see the
Mm.
continuation of that. You don't see it that much as you used to because I think the equipment was so expensive. If you're gonna do a video, you better do it right. Today they can film it on anything. It's like,
Well, I think there's been a lot of changes, and
mm,
I think the key always is to get back to doing something simple,
yeah,
like simple but clever, simple but good,
mm-hmm,
like I think a lot of I think that's it, but it was yeah, I mean when Napster came, like the whole industry changed,
yeah,
and um, they we used to get you know mid six figures to do a video,
yeah. I know.
and then all of a sudden, like after Napster, like you'd get these calls to do videos for $10,000,
Yeah,
and it's just like if you're used to hiring 50 people to make a video and doing a 5-day shoot, like
mm-hmm.
$10,000, like that doesn't cover catering, like so
Nah, I know.
like Hype Williams, like if you're Hype Williams, like you that's your catering budget, So
Yeah,
there was a big change. There was a big shift there, and then and then like the equipment and everything is so accessible and it's so cheap. Like you can buy like. I was just thinking about. I don't know if you've got the ring light on. Do you have the ring light?
no, I don't have it on.
Oh, okay, but you know the kind of light I'm talking about. You see
I
them
know exactly
everywhere in
what you.
social media now.
Yeah,
Those used to be like 20 years ago. Like you had to be like a Freemason level type
yeah,
director of
yeah.
photography to
Yep.
know like, oh, if you get a ring light you'll make them look so good. Like it was like and to rent a ring light was thousands of dollars, and now
Yeah,
you can buy a ring light on Amazon for $20, and like
yeah.
everybody's got one, and so it's like
It's true.
it's like it's just a different world,
Yeah,
like you don't have like that special, it's not like the Illuminati where like you have to like work and learn and figure things out until you're at
yeah,
that level where you're doing like really amazing stuff with all like now it's so easy to find a YouTube video about the way to light something, or like
yeah.
and the equipment is really cheap. You can get like a little steady cam that's on a stick, and put your phone in it, and it looks as good as what we used to have, a $500,000 piece of equipment do.
Yeah, I mean, that I the only video I've seen in the last couple of months that I really like is that new Busta Rhymes video that Hype Williams did. That Busta Rhymes video was crazy. They made Busta Rhymes look like a damn superhero. I was like, what the hell? I know, yo, that I'm telling you, that's the level we gotta take it. That's the level we
Mm.
have to take it. And you know, Daniel Sollinger also did a documentary called Immortality or Bust, about Zoltan Istvan. He's a transhumanist, about his 2016 campaign. He ran for president. And Daniel Sollinger did a documentary about that. Can you tell us a little bit about that in the process, how you met
Well,
Zoltan?
actually, this is a great segue because, as you said, I did Rhyme and Reason,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been following transhumanism since the early '90s. And
Wow.
when I saw Zoltan announce his candidacy, and I talked to him, and he suggested that I make a documentary, and it just hit me. I was like, you know what? I feel like transhumanism is where hip hop was in like 1990,
Mm-hmm.
like in 1990 hip hop existed, but you'd had like the, like in the 80s you'd had like uh I'm trying to think of Rapper's Delight, like was this huge hit, and
Yeah.
you had like Run DMC
Run
who were
DMC.
big, but it felt like it was a fad, like it didn't
Mm.
feel like it was a whole movement, culture, or a thing. And
Mm.
then like in the '90s, it was sort of like really underground,
Mm.
but the people who knew,
Right.
like and transhumanism felt like in the same place, like
Mm.
like a lot of the ideas are out there and people vaguely know about it, but maybe it was just like a fluke,
Yeah.
but there's actually like a lot of stuff happening underneath, and like this subculture that's coming up like a wave to take
Mm.
over popular culture. And I felt like transhumanism, like I wanted to document it before it hit like that mainstream like wave.
Mm.
I've just been watching, just as a bit of a side, this woman Katie, I think her name's Katie Woods. She has this investment company called Ark Investments, and she's just sitting there. Every interview I'm listening to her, I'm like, this woman listens to Ray Kurzweil. Like she's talking about
Mm.
exponential technologies, exponential growth. She's piling millions and millions and millions of dollars into companies that are doing genomic research, and she's talking about how they the like basically like
Mm.
how transhumanism, how like exponential technology and transhumanism is investing in it now will be paying off in like 5 years,
Wow.
and to see her on like CNBC talking about that, I'm like, okay, here it comes.
Wow.
It's coming, and it's
Yeah.
not, you know, transhumanism always, like when I first got into it, it felt like, oh, this will happen after I'm gone, you know,
Mm.
and right around like when I started working, right before I started working with Zoltan, actually, I guess really understanding the singularity is near and realizing that his timetables aren't that far off
Mm.
is like, oh no, this is going to happen in my lifetime. And then it's sort of
Wow.
like, oh, like there's going to be artificial intelligence that's going to be indistinguishable from talking to a human
Yes.
by the end of this decade.
Wow.
Like like you're just realizing like this stuff is really like happening, and mainstream media is starting
Mm.
to pick up on these ideas and stuff and talk about it. And it's not just mainstream media. This woman,
Mm.
is a huge, I mean, big money is going into,
Yes.
these like companies, and like Google started Calico, but Gates is investing, Bill Gates is investing in stuff, like all the
Mm.
richest people are investing in these radical lifespan technology. Elon
Wow.
Musk is doing Neuralink, like that is some
Yeah.
transhumanist stuff right there. And it's not, and he's doing Neuralink, and it's not like people are like saying this guy is bat ass crazy. It's like people are
Yes.
like, oh, Elon Musk has this company Neuralink where they're using a brain computer interface, and
Yeah.
it's like it's like, oh, this is very normal.
Yeah. This is wow. Yeah, that Neuralink company, man. That's amazing that he's even taking up this endeavor. Um, I would love to interview somebody from there, because I've always
I'll
been
bet you got
interested in
the guy
uploading,
who,
mine
the head of
uploaded.
that company. Elon Musk is. I guess there's a guy who like runs it. I bet you he's very accessible. You should try him.
Yeah, I
I'm sure he
will.
would love to get on and talk about what they're doing, because they're doing incredible
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and because today I had a situation where somebody said something about transhumanism, and I had to defend it. I was like, transhumanism. Just think of futurism is the same thing. It means the same
Right.
thing, in my
Right.
opinion. But let me just go back a little bit. You you did YG's Beat the Streets. I seen that.
Right.
That was a good movie.
Right.
That was like a
Playing on the
movie
street.
and a video put together.
Yeah.
What was it like working with YG?
I love YG.
Yeah,
He's like really creative. He's like really creative. He's very cool, very easygoing, but so talented and so smart about his business. Like he's a real inspiration for people in this era of social media. I think he's a real inspiration in this era of social media
Definitely.
about like how you be a successful musician in the age of social media. Like that guy really has it figured out. To me, what was most notable about doing that movie was the difference between. So I did this music video in the the late '90s. It was so Brand Nubian, like Grand Poobah had just left the Brand Nubians. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Definitely.
Okay, so and he was putting out a solo record, and Mary J. Blige sang the hook, right? So we were going to do this video. Kevin Bray was directing it with Grand Poobah and Mary J. Blige doing the hook, and the video was $100,000, and Puffy was managing Mary J. Blige at the time. He wasn't an artist yet. And everybody shows up at the shoot, huge crew. We had this big set. We built this huge set, and everybody's there. And Mary J. Blige has not arrived. And we start to try to figure out what happened. The car is still waiting out front for Mary J. And she will not come out of her house and get in the car. And Puffy is on the phone with her, like screaming at her, like, get in the car, just get in the car. Yeah. And Leor Cohen, I don't know if you know who Leor Cohen was,
Definitely.
but he was the head of Def Jam at the time, and he's on
the head
set.
of YouTube now.
What's that?
He's one of the big head execs at YouTube now. But go ahead, Leor Cohen.
Oh, is that where he's at? I haven't followed his career much, but that doesn't surprise me. And so finally like it just becomes clear, like Mary J. Blige is not coming out of the house, period. And so we go to Leor and we say, Leor, what do you want to do? And he's like, okay, we'll just do it again next week. And we said, okay, well, that's going to be another 100,000. To do it again next week is, like it cost us 100,000 to get all these people here and everything ready. We've rented this equipment. Right. Then we're not going, it's going to be another 100. We're going to have to spend that money all over again. It's going to be another $100,000. And he's like, okay. And you give him a little piece of paper to sign whenever you do something like that. So, he signed the overage agreement, and everybody went home, and we came back and we shot that for, Now, when I went to do the YG movie, which you've seen, with a little bit more work, it could have been a feeture film. It's like 40 minutes, 40 minutes long. There's more, it's the equivalent of like 4 or 5 music videos at least, and Def Jam Records, right? He's on Def Jam Records, right? I turned in the budget at several $100,000, and they said, 75,000. We are not going to spend a dime over 75,000. Wow. And I was like, I don't know how to make this movie on 75,000. And they're like, well, then don't make it. We don't, wow. Like that's how much we're spending. We're not spending a dime over 75,000. And YG had to go into his pocket to make sure that we I cut a lot of stuff, and we figured out a lot of stuff, and we made it a lot cheaper, but we didn't get it down to 75. And YG had to go into his own pocket to like finance. I mean, the truth is he financed the whole thing because that comes out of his revenue stream anyhow. But Def Jam Records would not put more than 75 grand in, which showed me how much the industry had changed from back in the day when, Mary J. Blige was a new artist,
Yeah. The budgets are not there like they were in the 80s. And, well, not even the 80s. In the 90s is where the budgets came. The bigger budgets came. The mid 90s, the 90s, that whole decade. But, we hip hoppers, if you've seen what happened with Napster, we have to be on we have to create new business models and do other things to generate this money, so we can give the people who have the skills to do our videos properly the bag. I don't know how to better say it. I'm trying.
No, I think you put it well.
I don't know how to say that any better.
I think you run into that problem a little yourself.
Yeah. I have, but I don't complain about it. It doesn't bother me because I know, I'm gonna get that bag to do what I need to do. It's just gonna take time, and
Yeah.
when you're doing legal business, things take time. It's not street money. You're not gonna get it the next day, and even street money, you can't. You're not gonna make it that fast. If you make
But
it
that's one
that
thing
hard
about you,
alive.
Trey. You just show up every day and you do it,
Yeah,
and you just keep doing it. You don't get dissuaded and discouraged, and I really admire you for that, because that's what it takes. It just takes like
yeah.
just keep coming back and keep trying.
Yeah, and plus I like talking to people. I'm glad I met people like yourself who put in the work. Is good to I'm very appreciative of all the great videos you've done in the past. All those videos I liked and I know about. Like I was like, man, all these videos that did I miss? I'm sure I missed any other videos that I don't know of that you may
Oh
have
no,
done
there's
that I don't
definitely
know of. I'm
videos.
sure.
There's videos I don't remember, dude.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure I missed plenty
there,
of
there,
work.
there are definitely, like, I'm trying to remember that first video. I'm like, geez, and like,
Yeah.
there's videos that I made that I think that me and the band were the only ones who saw them.
Wow. That's always dope. That's like lost tapes. That's like the video
Yeah, no, there's
versions of
definitely.
lost
I have a
tapes.
bunch of those. Yeah.
That would, yeah, but man, what are you doing? What's some of the stuff that you would like to do in the future? That what?
Well, I want to do Immortality or Bust 2. You know, I've been talking to Liz Parrish. She'd be like somebody great, I think, to be a subject for Immortality
Yeah.
or Bust 2. So I want to keep doing stuff in the
That would be
transhumanist
dope.
space. I just want to keep making movies. I want to do TV shows. I did this TV show this year called Double Cross, and that was fun to
Mm,
do a TV show. Um, but I want my Academy Award. I want an Academy Award in the next 5 years. Like
wow.
that's something like I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what's some you did have you done any horror movies?
I've done a lot of horror movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, The Alphabet Killer was a big.
Right.
It's more of a thriller than a horror movie. I did this movie called L.A. Slasher,
Oh,
which
I seen
is
that.
more of a satire than a
How
horror
about that?
movie, but it has the trappings of a slasher film.
Mm,
And I did Dark Summer, which is a horror film I'm very proud of. I like a lot. It's very stylistic. Um,
mm,
yeah, so I've done a bunch of horror films, and I did this movie Girls Against Boys, which isn't it's more like an art film, but it definitely has some killing in it, and
wow.
it's yeah, but that's one I like a lot. Girls Against Boys, if you get a chance to ever
Mm,
see that.
well, dope. Any advice you can give for any young people out there on if they wanted to follow a similar path like yourself? What advice do you have for them?
Just never give up. Just keep chasing after your dream, and don't greenlight yourself. Don't wait for somebody to like give you the permission to make a film. Just go make a film. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's what's worked for me is like I mean the one thing like I went to NYU Film School, as you mentioned. I was there with people who were had a lot more money than I did, who had
Mm,
famous parents, who came from royalty or whatever, or were famous themselves.
mm,
But I just was determined to outwork them and to be more persistent than they were. And
mm,
a lot of them aren't in the business anymore. Some are very successful, and I'd love to be more successful. I've made my living at making films, for my adult life, and I just stick to it. I just like I was saying to you,
mm.
just don't give up. Just keep doing it. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's great, and sometimes you get a dud, and like these music videos. I have music videos that are like history, and I have music videos that nobody saw but me and the artist. And
Yeah.
um, but I just keep getting back to the plate and taking another swing.
Yeah. No, that's you know what? We always looking for the most complex answer, and it's just as simple as that. Persistence, hard work, and
Yeah,
creativity will get you.
yeah. And if
Will
I'm
most
not
of the
doing a
time get you
movie,
where you need to
like
go.
with Zoltan, like there was no funding for that. I just we just
Mm,
started I just started making it, and we got a little bit of funding, along the way. I did crowdsourced it, and we had some other stuff, but like I didn't wait for somebody to say, oh, here's your opportunity to direct a movie. I just started doing it.
Yeah, and I really like what y'all did with the movie, even though
Thank you.
not just the fact that I participated in it, because if I didn't like it, even if I was in it, and I didn't like it, I would say something. I'm just that type of a person. I'll be like, wait a minute, yo, I don't like the way that went down. I would be. This movie was really good. The soundtrack, I was impressed, and I was glad to be a part of something like that. I really loved Immortality Bus. As well as all your other work, and I'm gonna catch up on your movies. I mean, you have plenty of movies for me to watch, and now that I have the time
I
to
would say,
do it, I'm gonna watch it.
check out King of Knives, and then check out Girls Against Boys.
I'm gonna watch that tonight. I'm gonna try to watch it tonight, and the other one I'm gonna watch Girls Against Boys tomorrow.
All right.
When I get up. But Daniel Sollinger, thanks for coming by. I really appreciate this, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. Big fan, Maitreya. Thank you.
Thank you, man. We out. Do you want to say anything to our audience before we head out?
You know what? This is such a special place on the internet. Hip hop and transhumanism. Like, you're the only one out there doing it, and but that's what trailblazing is. And like, I just feel like, you go bring hip hop to transhumanism. You go bring transhumanism to hip hop. And it's awesome. And just so keep doing it.
Thank you. I'm trying. A lot of hard heads out.
Yeah. You're doing it. You're doing it.
What are you talking about? All right.
You're getting great guests. Yeah,
thank
keep
you.
it up.
They're like, why you keep drawing your triangle over your eye? What's all that about? We'll explain that later. We out. Daniel Sollinger, y'all.
All right.
Super Long Journey Institute. We out.